you have no limit to how much money you can make. There are some mortgage companies that throw you to the wolves and say, get clients and start closing loans. In this business and pleasure meet. That test teaches you nothing. Network, network, network. Of months you make thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. Hey honeybees, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, my name is Sierra and I do videos on beauty, finance, and lifestyle. I also work full-time as a mortgage loan officer, and I love to talk about building wealth and make complex financial topics super simple so I can empower everyone to build wealth and become financially free. If you clicked on this video, you probably are interested in becoming a loan officer, or you're just curious and you just want to see what it's like. All the DMs I get all the time are about how to become a loan officer, how to become successful. What do you need to do to become a loan officer? I have talked about before the pay structure, how much you make in a previous video, which I will link above and below. But now I'm just going to give you guys some basic steps and tips and advice on how to become a loan officer and how to become a successful loan officer. Okay, so the first thing that I want to make sure you guys understand is the difference between a loan originator and a loan officer. When you're deciding you want to break into the mortgage industry as a loan officer, make sure you understand what exactly that means. A loan originator tends to work at a bank and they are registered. A loan officer tends to work for a mortgage company or a broker and they are licensed. I have not worked for a bank, so I'm not going to speak too much to that. I'm mostly going to speak to being a mortgage broker and working as a loan officer, being licensed. When you are an originator and you work in a bank, most people tend to get a base salary and a commission based on the loans that they close. When you are working for a broker, you most of the time are going solely on commission. When you work for a bank, your commission tends to be a lot less than if you work for a mortgage broker. Being a loan officer, you are not only required to do sales, but you're also required to calculate rates and discount points and structure the loan and find the right financing, and you have so much more control over the loan process, but you also really have to be a lot more knowledgeable, in my opinion. So again, this is one of those things I talked about in a previous video, so I will direct you to that, but I just wanted to make sure you guys knew the difference. When you are deciding what you want to do, make sure you do your own research and figure out which side it is that you want to jump into. Okay, so if you are going to go the broker route and the loan officer route, the first most important thing you need to decide is what mortgage broker or what mortgage company you want to work at. And this is huge because you actually cannot get licensed without being sponsored by an employer or a mortgage company. So even before you think about studying for the test, any of that, you'll definitely want to make sure you choose a good company to be with. Now, in terms of the interview process, tips for that is when you are becoming a loan officer, you really want to play up your sales experience. Above anything else, it's a sales job. It's a production-driven industry, okay? So you want to make sure that you have some sales experience and that you have numbers that you can show to where you've met quotas and things like that. Now, if you haven't had sales experience, then you'll want to make sure you highlight your transferable skills, meaning you may not have worked in sales, but you may have skills that relate to sales that you can transfer over to this role as a loan officer. For example, ability to persuade people. You may be good at public speaking, communicating, presenting. You may be good at recruiting. You may be good at customer service, just different things where you have to interact with customers or you're required to gain customers. Just make sure that you're able to transfer those skills over to being a loan officer, and make sure you include that in your resume and really play that up in your interview. I would also advise you, once you've decided on a mortgage company, really know what a day-to-day looks like being a loan officer and know what your job looks like at that company. There are so many mortgage companies, therefore there are so many different experiences. There are some mortgage companies that just throw you to the wolves and say, get clients and start closing loans. And then there's other companies like my company that will put you through a training program. And so you really want to make sure you you understand the culture, the work culture, and what their training process is, what the pay scale looks like, what you're gonna be expected to do, how much you're gonna be expected to do. It's so important. I say this about any job, any interview, any employer. As much as they are choosing you in the interview process, you are choosing them. You may be a good candidate, but you may not fit in with that work culture or vice versa. So it's so important to not just be so focused on getting a job. In this industry, fit is so important. So make sure you do your research on the company, understand what their work culture is, what's expected of you, what your role is going to be like, how much you're going to be getting paid, how often, and make your decision based on that. Okay, so once you've gotten in with your mortgage company, you have to get licensed. I'm not familiar with a lot of companies' policies, but with my company, you have to be licensed within 90 days. Start studying as much as you can and prepping for the licensing test. Now, I have talked a little bit in my other video about this as well, but I will link below the study guide that I used. So you'll want to put together a really good study schedule, and time management is everything. You're going to have to balance your studying with work, because at this point you're still getting a new job, you're learning the company, you're learning the position. So you do have to take a 20-hour course. You can do this online. I did mine completely online. As a matter of fact, I did my 20-hour course before I even started my first day. That way I had that out the way with, and from then on I could just study. And I also did a program online called CompuCram. CompuCram's really good. It's going to be the closest to what the test is going to be like. I just decided to rip the band-aid off, and I studied like non-stop for a month straight and took the test, and I passed on my first try. Now, a lot of people don't pass on their first try, and it would be silly of me to tell you that it's easy or to take it lightly. It's not an easy test by any means at all. It's pretty intense. You want to take it seriously. You want to put together a very disciplined study schedule. Take the test when you're ready, when you feel confident, but also don't let it linger, because the longer you let it linger, the harder it's going to be for you to work and study and try to take the test. Now, if you fail the test the first time, you can take it again in 30 days. So I know people that have failed the first time, they take it again and they pass. I know people that have failed 2 times, they take it again and they pass. You can take it as much as you want until you pass. Now, your company may have a policy on how long you have to get your license, and so you have to be careful about that. But my advice is to just go hard, study hard, and you'll pass. Just if you put the work in, if you really put the effort in, you'll pass. Once you pass the test, you really have this overwhelming feeling of accomplishment, and you really feel like, yeah, now I'm a loan officer. But that test teaches you nothing about being a loan officer. Nothing about being a loan officer. You mostly learn laws. Once you pass the test, you are then licensed to be a loan officer, but you have to learn the whole industry and learn everything. So my advice is, after you pass the test, focus solely on sales and marketing. Because if you try to delve too much into loan structures, rates, underwriting, things like that, you're gonna overwhelm yourself, and so you're gonna have to take it piece by piece by piece. You're not gonna know everything at once. You just have to come to terms with that. It takes about 1 year to 2 years into the business to really understand, to really grasp, and to really get good at it, I would say. Allow yourself that time. Don't be hard on yourself. Know that it's going to take time, and start small. So start solely with sales and marketing. That's just basically acquiring clients, whether that's leads your company gives you, whether that's your neighbor down the street that you know, whether you make a post on Facebook and you're able to get business that way. Start letting everyone know what you do, because this is how you're going to start developing your business. Being a loan officer is very much a referral-based business. It's a lot like being a real estate agent in the fact that you pretty much are responsible for getting your own clients, and you have to kind of treat it like your own business. Your company may give you leads, but you can't really depend on that. You really, above everything else, have to have strong sales and marketing skills. So my advice would be to start there and just make sure your sales and marketing skills are A1, and then move on to mastering the application and underwriting and so forth. Network, network, network. Network your butt off. At this point in your career, networking is the most important it will ever be. Building your client base and building your team of referral partners is the most critical part of this business. And if you cannot do that, then you will not do well in this industry. Start building a network and a team of real estate agents and other referral partners, CPAs, lawyers, just anyone that can refer you clients. Really get your name out there. Take realtors to coffees, do seminars, do anything that you can network, whether that's conferences or happy hours. In this business and pleasure kind of like meet a little bit because so much of this business is networking. And I didn't fully understand that when I got into it. I just thought, okay, like I'm gonna crunch some numbers, this is gonna be cool. If you cannot network or that makes you uncomfortable or you're not able to meet new people or make friends, then this is not the industry for you. So along with focusing on your sales, definitely focus on marketing and networking. And the last thing I'll say is also something I touched on in my previous video, so make sure you watch it because I go into more detail. One thing I had to get adjusted to in this industry is the way that you make money. I went from being a salaried full-time employee in academia, having the full benefits and just knowing when I'm gonna get paid and how much, and it's the same every time. But I got tired of clocking in and clocking out, doing a 9 to 5, only being able to make so much money, even with a master's degree, even with a PhD. And that's essentially what pushed me into this industry. I just got tired of working for someone else on someone else's time, making only a certain amount of money. With this business, you have no limit to how much money you can make. And that's the beauty of this industry. And all the hard work, all of the stress, the amount of money you can make is what makes it worth it. That's why people want to be in this industry. That's why so many people are flocking to this industry. But with that said, you also have to be able to budget your money and save. And that's what really pushed me into this area of just being super savvy with money and budgeting and saving and finance, was because I had to in this industry. You don't just get a regular paycheck. You may have months where you make thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars, and you may have months where you may make nothing. You have to be prepared for that. This industry also ebbs and flows with the time of year and what the market is doing. House rates are based on the stock and the bond market. So they go up, they go down, they can fluctuate. They literally fluctuate from day to day. They literally fluctuate throughout the day. There may be times when business is booming. The early spring to late summer is when the housing market is at its peak, and that's usually when you make your most money. That's when you're busiest. It tends to get slower fall through winter, around back to spring. That's really the slow season, and that's when you may have to go into your reserves of money that you have saved. It may be a little slower. You can't spend all your money at once. You can't have a great month and think, yeah, I'm gonna go buy a Tesla. How much you make is not guaranteed. So you have to be really smart about how much you spend, how much you save. But I love the amount of freedom and flexibility I have with my job, physically and financially now. I'm able to do a lot more things than I was when I was working a 9 to 5 in a salaried job. I have much more financial freedom. It's actually taught me to be smarter with money. If you're going into this industry and you have dollar signs in your eyes, that's great. We all want to make money, but keep in mind that it doesn't come overnight. You have to build up your client base. You have to build up your knowledge. You build up to that, and even when you build up to having those really successful months, you have to keep in mind that there will be a slow season, and so you have to have balance with how you save and how you spend. I could talk about this on and on. I hope it did answer some of you guys' questions. You get out of this business what you put in, and it takes a lot of putting in until you see the results of what you get out. But if you stay persistent and you work hard, you will see the results. If you have more questions, please leave them below and I will address them in my next video. I always try to respond to all comments within the first 24 hours of uploading a video. So it's super important, if you want feedback from me, to hit that bell button so you know as soon as I upload, and you can ask me your question in the comments. If you've made it this far, then definitely make sure to hit the thumbs up if you like this video, if it helped you, if you learned something. It lets me know I need to make more. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you in my next video.